Blood and Cassava, an adult life in ancient Jamaica. This script continues the story begun in Born of Wood and Water and is set in Xamyka between roughly 900 and 1000 AD. As with part 1, customs, weapons, social structures, and conflicts described here are drawn from archaeology, comparative Arawakan ethnography, and Spanish chronicles written shortly after first contact. Carib, Kalinago raids on Taino territories are attested in multiple early Spanish accounts, though the exact frequency and scale affecting Jamaica specifically is not fully documented. Details about Taino rank, the Makana, Kohobak ceremony, marriage alliance, and the cacique's role are historically grounded. You are no longer the child placed in a woven hammock near the fire, your forehead gently shaped by a wooden board while you slept. That was another life, or rather, the opening chapter of this one. You are somewhere in your late teens now, and the island of Jamaica feels both larger and more fragile than it did when you were small. You have begun to understand that the sea, which feeds you and connects you to the world, also carries danger on its currents. Your rank and what it demands. You were not born a common laborer. Your family carries Taino blood. You belong to the noble class that sits between the ordinary villagers, the Naborias, and the cacique himself. This means you have been raised with the expectation of leadership, counsel, and, when necessary, war. Your days are not idle. As an Taino, your responsibilities are already well defined even before you inherit any formal title. You assist in organizing the village's communal labor, who builds the new bahayos before the rains, who tends the Kanuka fields, who goes out with the fishing canoes at first light. You settle small disputes between families before they grow into feuds that would require the cacique's direct attention. You are, in many ways, the machinery through which his authority actually runs. The cacique watches you, not with suspicion, with assessment. A chief who has no capable Latinos around him is a man building a canoe without paddles. You feel that expectation like a hand pressing gently, but firmly, on your shoulder at all times. The work of your hands. Even with your rank, you work. Taino society does not reward idleness at any level of its hierarchy. You help construct and maintain the canoes, the raised, mounded garden plots that make the village's food supply stable year-round. Men build the moons themselves. The shaping of the earth is your labor. You drive stakes, pile soil, and arrange the plantings in ways passed on from your father's generation. Cassava grows in the moons, and sweet potato, pepper, maize, and squash spread out between them. Managing the canoes well is not a small thing. Cassava can take up to 18 months to mature, which means you're always thinking a year and a half ahead, always calculating what the village will need long before it needs it. When you're not farming, you're on the water. You help guide dugout canoes along the coast and into nearby rivers, using nets woven from cotton to pull in fish, turtle, and shellfish. Taino canoes are feats of engineering. Yours is hollowed from a single silk cotton trunk using fire and stone tools. shaped to cut through both calm river water and open sea. The largest vessels your people build can carry 50 people or more, and navigating one well is a point of personal pride. Marriage, alliance, and what it means for a Taino. Marriage among your people is not only a personal matter, it is politics. For a Taino of your standing, a marriage creates or reinforces an alliance between your village and another. Your cacique may have already had a hand in choosing your match, or at least in approving it. A cacique himself can take multiple wives. The most powerful among them might have 10, 15, or more, each union binding a different family or a distant village to his authority. Your own marriage is more modest, but it carries similar weight at a smaller scale. Your wife, or the woman you're being directed toward, likely comes from another family of standing, possibly from a neighboring village, creating a bond of obligation between two communities. Her family will expect your loyalty. Your village will expect hers. This is how peace is maintained between groups that share coastlines and rivers, and how the broader network of Jamaican Taino society holds together across more than 200 villages on an island that has no written law, only tradition, relationship, and memory. You understand by now that love and duty are not opposites here. They are expected to grow from the same root. The Carib threat. There is a word that travels through the village on certain mornings before the sun is fully up. Kalinago. The people from the small islands to the east and south, the ones your people call Caribs, have been raiding again. You have grown up hearing the stories. The Kalinago are skilled open water navigators who launch raids from large, fast canoes, sometimes arriving with 300 warriors or more in coordinated formations at dawn, when the village is still slow with sleep. They strike quickly, taking captives, burning fields, confiscating canoes, and disappear back into sea before a defense can be organized. The raids do not happen every season, but they happen often enough that your village was built on a hill above the river deliberately, positioned for visibility and defensibility, not just for access to water and farming land. This morning, fishermen coming in from the coast have spotted unfamiliar canoes on the horizon. The report reaches the cacique within the hour, and you were among the group of Tainos, summoned immediately to the Kini to discuss it. The decision unfolds the way it always does, through a combination of practical strategy and ceremony. The cacique calls for a guazabara to be prepared, the term your people use for a formal state of conflict readiness. Warriors begin painting their bodies with red pigment from achiote and black from Janempa, not for decoration alone, but as ritual preparation, marking boundary between ordinary life and the state of danger. You paint alongside them. Your weapons are the makana, a hard wood club, heavy and efficient at close range, and a bow with arrows tipped with bone or fire-hardened wood. You have also helped prepare agile projectiles in the past, hollow gourds packed with powdered pepper and ash, thrown or launched toward attackers to blind and disorient them. This is one of the more inventive tools in your people's arsenal, and you take a grim pride in it. The raid and its aftermath. The canoes on the horizon do not land, Not this time. Either they were scouting or they were deterred by the number of armed men visible on the shore. You stand with the other warriors in the shallow water and on the beach until the shapes disappear back eastward. The relief is real but brief. The cacique gathers the Nitainos again that evening. The lesson is clear without being stated. The village's defenses need to be coordinated with the villages upriver and along the neighboring coast. A single village cannot hold a coastline. Alliance is the only answer. Over the following weeks, you are sent as part of a delegation to two neighboring caciques. This is diplomatic work, but it is not soft work. You carry yourself with the full weight of the Nitaino status. Speak carefully and listen more than you talk. The negotiations involve the shared use of fishing grounds, mutual obligations to answer each other's call to defense, and the symbolic exchange of gifts. Carved zemis, woven cotton and food. A promise sealed with object has weight here. Breaking it carries consequences that can outlast a single generation. Your role in ceremony. Defense and diplomacy are not the only arenas where you prove yourself. Ceremony is the third pillar of Taino leadership, and you are expected to carry it. The ariato, the communal song and dance that carries your people's history, genealogy, and spiritual knowledge from one generation to the next, is organized and led by those with status. You have been part of ariatos since childhood, but now you help coordinate them. Who leads with section? When the drum change rhythm? How the movements tell the story of your ancestors' migration from the Orinoco River across the sea to this island. The ariato is not entertainment. It is a living memory, the closest thing your people have to a written archive. During major ceremonies, the bohik, the village priest and healer, leads the Cassava ritual, inhaling powdered seeds through a forked tube to enter a trance state and speak with the zemis. You do not lead the ceremony. That is the bohik's domain, and the line between his authority and the cacique's is respected carefully. But you stand in attendance, and your presence signals to the village that the Nitaino class supports the spiritual leadership, aspiring to the cacique's seat. The cacique is aging. You can see it in the deliberate way he rises from his duhu, the carved wooden stool reserved for leaders, and in the longer silences before he speaks in council. He has sons, but Taino inheritance does not pass automatically from father to son. It moves through the maternal line. The next cacique is most likely to be the chief's sister's son, your cousin, or someone like him. But ability and reputation also carry weight, and the Council of the Nitainos has informal influence over how smoothly or roughly a succession goes. You are building your reputation. Every decision you make well, every conflict you resolve before it escalates, every delegation you return from with a new alliance, these things are noted. The village notices who speaks with calm authority and who panics. It notices who distributes food fairly when supplies run short and who gives a slightly larger portion to their own family. It notices who walks onto a beach to face the possibility of raiders without showing the fear that everyone in truth is feeling. A cacique carries a guanin, a pendant made from an alloy of gold and copper, symbolizing his descent from the first mythical chief. And a kakuya, star of the center. You do not wear one yet, but you have begun to understand what it means to deserve one. It is not glory you are reaching for exactly. It is something harder to name, a kind of responsibility that spreads outward from your body into the fields and the fishing grounds, the allied villages and the sacred caves, the children who are now the age you were in the first chapter of your life. The sea that fed you is also the sea that threatens you. The island of Xamyka is not a paradise sealed off from the world. It is a living place, full of negotiation and risk, held together not by walls or weapons alone, but by the daily, deliberate work of people who understand the village is only as strong as the decisions made inside it. You are one of those people now, and the work is nowhere near finished.